Hi everyone, welcome back to the Movie Reviewers 100. My name is Scott, also known as Cineram here on YouTube, and I do the Thursday videos for this collab channel. Our theme this week is medieval films with a medieval setting, and so I elected to take a second look at Kingdom of Heaven, which was directed by Ridley Scott and came out in 2005. This movie takes place during the Crusades, meaning the 12th century, basically, and involves the conflict over the city of Jerusalem, which at the time that the film opens is being held by the Christians, and the conflict involving the Christians, the Jewish people, and the Muslims. The Muslims, of course, want Jerusalem back after it was basically taken from them by the Christians. I don't know, I think it's a century earlier, and they were forced to leave. So now they've marshaled their efforts and they're interested in taking the city back because that's their holy place too. The film, when it was released in 2005, was a bit over 2 hours, about 2 hours, 50 minutes long. But at the time it came out, I read that there was another version of the movie that was about 3 hours long, and that Ridley Scott, although, you know, going along with the studio's request that he not make it that long, really felt like the 3-hour version was the definitive version of the movie. So when I read this, I thought, well, I'm not going to go into the theater and see the shorter version. I want to see the complete version of the film. And so I waited, and I waited, and I waited, and of course the extended version never actually came to the theaters, nor was it available for me to rent in any video shop that I knew of, nor was it even available on Netflix. I eventually had to buy this set, and if you take a look here, there are actually 4 discs in this set. These are the discs with the movie, and then here we have 2 discs full of special features, which I haven't even gotten to yet. But this was the only way to see this version of the movie, was to actually buy the disc, which is something I don't do if I haven't actually seen the film yet. It retailed originally for about 40 bucks, but luckily I was able to find it secondhand for about 15, and you know, it's in very, very good condition. The main character of the film is played by Orlando Bloom. He plays a blacksmith named Balian. And in the beginning of the film, he's living pretty far from Jerusalem. I think I can't remember exactly which country he's living in, but I think Italy is between Jerusalem and him. And so a few knights happen by his place, one of whom is played by Liam Neeson. And Liam Neeson says, "You are my son, Balian. I knew your mother, and you are my son. And I would like for you to come with me to defend the city of Jerusalem against the Muslims, because you are a warrior like me, even though you don't know it." And Orlando Bloom has some second thoughts about this, but reservations. But eventually he does go with them, and in battle, they're attacked along the way, and Liam Neeson's severely injured, and so before he dies, he bequeaths his title to Orlando Bloom. So now Orlando Bloom is part of the inner circle once he arrives in Jerusalem, dealing with the king and the clerics there and some of the higher ups. They are played by Martin Coskas, I believe his name is. He plays an individual named Guy, who is one of the more wrong-headed characters in this film, along with a character, who is this guy played by? Not Brendan Gleeson, but someone very much like him. There's 2 guys I always get confused here. But the king is played by Edward Norton. And unfortunately, he is a leper, has been ever since he was very young, which means that he has not married and has no heir, because, he can't pass along, and he can't have a son, basically. But his sister is played by Eva Green, and she has a son, so he plans on bequeathing the title of King of Jerusalem will go to her son once he dies. One of his closest advisors is played by Jeremy Irons, and there's a lot of political shenanigans going on there. Eva Green takes a liking to Orlando Bloom. At a certain point, they become lovers, and then later on, Edward Norton, the king, who is never actually seen because he's always wearing a mask because his face has been ravaged. He tells Orlando Bloom around the midpoint in the film that he wants Orlando Bloom to marry his sister and then become the king once he dies. Because if the king, the current, Eva Green's current husband is played by Guy, the Martin Coskas character, who's a rather bloodthirsty guy and will drive all the men into battle to try and destroy the Muslims, even though that's not the right thing to do. And he's he's one of those guys that says, we'll win because God's on our side. We carry the Christian cross, therefore we'll win. And, that kind of attitude. And Jeremy Irons and some of the other smarter guys know that that's not what wins you battles. So Edward Norton says to him, if you marry my sister, and then you can become king and you will defend Jerusalem and things will continue on peaceably, more so than they would be if Guy were king. And then Edward Norton says, well, what will happen to Guy? He says, well, he'll be executed, and any man who doesn't swear allegiance to you as king will be executed as well. And Orlando Bloom says, oh, I can't have that on my conscience. It's like, I know you think that you're selling out by making this deal with me, but really it's for the greater good. And Orlando Bloom says to him, we had a conversation when I first arrived here about how a man is in charge of his own soul, despite what kings and other people tell him to do. That he is in charge of staying true to his nature and doing the virtuous thing, despite what orders he's given. So I have to do the virtuous thing and not condemn all of Guy's men to death by marrying your sister and becoming the king. So naturally, because he refuses to do this, then once the king dies, then Eva Green's son becomes king. But unfortunately, he's a leper as well, and so when he dies, then Martin Coskas, Guy, becomes the king, then the whole bloody conflict starts. So a lot of big battles in this movie, a lot of sword fighting. And I gotta say, the climax of this movie, if you see this movie, the climax in which the Muslim army, who's led by King Saladin, approaches the city of Jerusalem with its high walls and proceeds to attack it, will probably remind you of the battle scenes that close the second and third Lord of the Rings movies. The CGI is incredibly impressive in this movie. Huge numbers of soldiers and battles that are all created in the computer. And it makes Lord of the Rings really look like a cartoon. It's very, very real looking. Very good. So as to whether I like this movie, generally I do. I had to say it's very, very formal. Everyone speaks very formally, of course, because it takes place in the 12th century, and there's a lot of characters to keep track of. Michael Sheen and David Thewlis play a couple of priests that pop up at various points of the movie. Trying to think of any other actors that I haven't mentioned that you'd know. No one really come to mind. The main characters basically are Jeremy Irons, Orlando Bloom, and Eva Green. They're like the principal people. Yeah, and I would, I still have not seen the reduced version, the shorter version that was in theaters. I prefer to see this because it's, the more complete version, so I'm glad I waited for it. And there's, generally it's a very good film. It's long, really long, and you probably want to take notes to keep track of who everyone is, and what they're doing. However, one thing that will help you is, just 2 days ago, an article was posted on the Joe Blow network called The Unpopular Opinion, in which a guy either rips a movie that's gotten lots of acclaim or defends a movie that's been, unfairly, he feels, demeaned. So this guy took the opportunity to talk about how great Kingdom of Heaven is, and he lays out a lot of the characters and plot lines, so that's very helpful in understanding what's going on here. It would be good to read that before you actually see the film, I think, if you're planning on doing it. So there we are, Kingdom of Heaven. That is my review for Medieval Week, and we should have a new theme starting tomorrow, Friday, so I hope you'll tune in for that, and don't forget to watch the other videos on the theme week. I think we've only had one other review so far this week for Medieval, unless I haven't checked recently enough, and that was on Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Rather different in tone. Anyway, so thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Have a good one.